the first thing you did after being reborn before the apocalypse. You didn't rush to hoard supplies like crazy, nor did you hurry to find a reliable shelter. Instead, you frantically searched for the goddess school beauty to get closer to her, because you were fully aware that in just 1 hour, the catastrophe would strike, and monsters and ferocious beasts would follow one after another. At the same time, humans would have the chance to gain powers from anime or movies, a unique skill that fans of the character admire. Some people are obsessed with Magneto's awakening ability, magnetic field manipulation, commanding a torrent of steel to act as a meat grinder. Dozens of beasts are instantly shredded into pieces. Some people love Goku's awakening ability from Dragon Ball the most, Kamehameha, unleashing a powerful energy wave, annihilating hordes of zombies in an instant. The campus queenly Ryuei awakens, mastering the ability to control powerful lightning, transforming into a thunder goddess that strikes fear in everyone. Yet in your past life your favorite was Detective Conan, awakening the seemingly useless detective skills in the apocalypse. Just as you were about to meet a tragic end as food for ferocious beasts, a cold mechanical voice suddenly echoed in your mind. Host's life signs detected to be critical. Rebirth program initiating, setting temporal anchor. 1 hour before the catastrophe, awakening simultaneously. The talent replication system allows you to possess up to 5 talents at the same time. As the system upgrades, the talent levels can continue to increase. The newbie benefit lets you detect talents within your field of vision. Replicating a talent requires 10 seconds of physical contact, accompanied by excruciating pain surging through your entire body. It feels like every nerve in your body is being shredded by a blender. Amid your screams you see countless memory fragments flashing past. A shrill alarm clock rings loudly. You spring up from the bed like a resurrected corpse. With my right hand shaped like a claw I reached out into the empty space. My assault rifle. Sunlight filtered through the blue curtains, shining on the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds poster on the opposite wall. My roommate Zhao Wenyu threw a sock at me. What kind of crazy are you pulling this early in the morning? That useless car 98K of yours can't even hit anyone in the game. Memories came flooding back like a tide. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, the first ray of light will appear over the Pacific Ocean. Cracks in the air after 7 days. Those monsters that skewer you like kebabs will strike. Talent replication system activated. Detected talent within view. At that moment a translucent panel suddenly appeared above Zhao Wenyu's head. Magnetic field control. Unawakened potential rating S. Breathing has ceased. Isn't this the one who later single-handedly defeated the Beast Tide? Isn't that Magneto's ability? In a past life the military paid a hefty price to recruit this S-class awakened individual. They sacrificed an entire armored division for this purpose. Oh right, old Zhao's favorite thing to watch is the X-Men series. Who would have thought he also had a soft spot for the character Magneto? Currently there's still an hour left until the apocalypse strikes, but innate abilities have already started awakening. So does that mean old Zhao don't move? You jumped off the bed barefoot, leaving the other person utterly bewildered. Grabbed the other person's hand tightly. Thought to myself silently, system copied. Zhao Wenyu was so scared that his phone fell to the ground. You got possessed by a female ghost. Your hand is freezing cold. You didn't respond. Eyes fixed on the countdown in the void. At the moment it reached 1, a searing heat like molten lava. Suddenly a surge ran from the palm to the entire body, collapsing to the ground in agony. It felt like thousands of steel needles stirring inside the bone marrow, but compared to the pain of being eaten alive by a rock-armored beast, this was almost like a massage. Strength increased by 3, awakening progress at 12%. 37% replication was successful. Hey, are you having a seizure? Chang Haibing hurriedly grabbed a towel, but your bloodshot eyes startled me enough to take a step back. At this moment in your line of sight, the whole world is filled with magnetic field lines. The metal pipes of the bed frame flicker alternately as if breathing. The keychain in the drawer resonates with a trembling sound. You suddenly grabbed Chang Haibing's wrist. Named Chang Haibing. As expected, old Zhao is the only one with talent. You wiped away the nosebleed. Suddenly you remembered that Chang Haibing never liked watching movies, not to mention anime, so he didn't awaken any special abilities. You look really pale. Zhao Wenyu frowned as he spoke. It's nothing. You forced out the words through gritted teeth. At this moment it felt like under the skin, countless ants were gnawing away, especially around the temples, throbbing so hard it seemed ready to burst. But the pain of being gutted by the blood-blade mantis in the previous life, 10 times more intense than this. You didn't even flinch. Alright, if anything happens make sure to let me know. I'll help you take a leave of absence with the counselor. I still have a class to attend. After saying that he left, Zhao Wenyu walked out of the dorm room, The other two roommates also answered phone calls, and quickly left as well. At this moment you finally collapsed to the ground. Sweat collected into small puddles on the ground. You grinned widely. You raised your hand to sense the surroundings. All the metal objects in the dorm room suddenly began to tremble. The keychain jingled and clinked. The screws on the bed frame emitted a teeth-grinding screech. With a swift grasp of your fingers, the black ink of the pen drew a line that embedded itself into the wall. The pen tip completely pierced into the concrete. This is the power of an awakened one. You stare at your trembling palm. In a previous life, that armored soldier used to require a whole team to take down. Now you can pierce through with just a pen. Your attribute panel at this moment has undergone a drastic transformation. Name Chu Tian. Strength 9, Agility 10, Constitution 9, Energy 15 plus 15. Talent Magnetic Field Manipulation LVE slots used 1/5. With the awakening of your magnetic field manipulation ability, the energy level, which was originally at 0, instantly shot up to 15 points. There are still 4 empty slots remaining. In other words, you can still acquire 4 more unique talent abilities. Thinking about this, your hands tremble slightly with excitement. Ordinary awakeners throughout their entire life can only possess a single talent ability, but you have the chance to hold 5 at the same time. Even though you can only awaken Conan's crime-solving ability, but now what belongs to others feels like it's your own. Possessing multiple extraordinary abilities can completely transform into the real Grim Reaper Conan. At this moment there are still more important tasks waiting for you. Only less than half an hour remains before the apocalypse arrives. Relying solely on magnetic field manipulation isn't enough. Currently the most promising person in the city is Li Ruyue alone. You must head to the school building and find it as soon as possible. He replicated his lightning talent. Thinking of this, you jump into action right away. Along the way, whenever you come across someone, you carefully observe them to check if they possess any special abilities. This behavior even startled 2 passing underclassmen. They thought they might have encountered some kind of creep. Just as you were about to reach the scholarly building, you finally spotted a girl with a special ability. Nainin Xiaoi, gender female, talent energy concentration. Not yet awakened energy concentration is not considered a rare ability, but for you, it happens to make up for the weakness in close combat. Could it be that this girl's favorite is Tsunade's replication? There was almost no hesitation. You quickly stepped forward and directly placed your hand on In Xiaoi's shoulder. Classmate, have you seen Li Ruyue? The girl looked utterly confused, but a familiar system notification sounded in your ear. Replication complete. Detected an unawakened superpower initiating awakening process for you. Suddenly an excruciating pain hit like a tidal wave. It felt as if every bone in the body was being reshaped. Thankfully the pain came and went swiftly this time. In less than half a minute the superpower awakening was complete. Name Chu Tian, Strength 31 plus 22. Agility 10, Constitution 15 plus 6, Energy 15, Talent Magnetic Field Manipulation LVE. Super Strength LVE. Slots used 2/5. Staring at your attribute panel, you nodded in satisfaction. Focusing your energy once gives you 3 times the strength of an average person. Mental abilities are weaker compared to control-type abilities. The biggest weakness of those with superpowers is their fragile bodies. If someone gets close to them, they are basically at the mercy of others. You chose to copy the energy concentration ability. To compensate for this weakness, you snapped out of it. Looking at In Xiaoi's confused expression, Dr. Ku asked again if you had seen Li Ruyue. Nope. Yingxi Aoe shook her head. After hesitating for a moment she added, if you're not feeling well, the school nurse's office is over there. After saying that she turned around and quickly walked away. You ignored Yingxi Aoe and headed straight to the 3rd floor of the Bo Shui building. Today's lesson is about. Bang! Before the professor could finish speaking, the classroom door was suddenly flung open, jolting awake the students who were dozing off. You stand at the doorway. Without hesitation you shout out asking if Li Ruyue is there. Time is running out. A disaster is about to strike in just a matter of minutes. You don't have the luxury of searching slowly. You have no choice but to use the straightforward and direct approach to save time. The professor frowns. In a stern tone they question you. What year are you in? Don't you know you're supposed to knock before entering? You completely ignored it. Seeing no one answered, you immediately turned around and left, getting ready to head to the next classroom to keep searching. You searched every classroom on the 3rd floor, but you still couldn't find any trace of Li Ruyue. Just as you were about to leave, a timid voice came from behind you. That Li Ruyue took a leave of absence today, and is not at school. You suddenly turned around, looking at the girl who was speaking. The system indicated that she was just an ordinary worker. Do you know where he went? The girl answered nervously. I'm not sure. He only mentioned he had something to do at the old pedestrian street today. As you were considering your next move, suddenly screams began echoing outside. What the heck is that thing? Why did the sky suddenly turn dark? It looks like fog, but why is it black? In an instant, thick black fog poured into the classroom. It swallowed up all the light. The entire classroom was plunged into complete darkness. You couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. Even the lights vanished completely. The classroom immediately descended into chaos. The sounds of desks colliding and people screaming filled the air. You stayed calm like an outsider. You pulled out 2 pens. They hovered in the palm of your hand. Suddenly a blurry figure moved towards you. Thud! Without hesitation you directed the pens to shoot out like sharp swords. A scream echoed in the air. The figure collapsed to the ground instantly. You couldn't tell if it was a zombie or a regular person. But the rule at this moment was simple: anyone who approaches dies, whether they're friend or foe. You treat everyone the same. The dark mist started to fade away quickly. Inside the classroom, the fluorescent lights gradually came back on. Even though the darkness lasted less than a minute, the fear and changes it brought were devastating. Ah, help! Oh my gosh, this is terrifying. As the mist cleared, the classroom and hallway echoed with a chorus of screams. Shrill cries rose and fell in waves. Your eyes quickly scanned the classroom. Several bodies lay collapsed at your feet. Blood continued to pour out relentlessly. Among the surviving students, half of them were frantically glancing around in terror. The other half was slumped over their desks, seemingly asleep. But their shoulders twitched unnaturally. You realized those people were turning into zombies. You killed them. Noticing the blood dripping from the pen in your hand, a few students questioned in fear. Why did you do this? Call the police immediately. Facing the accusations, you remained indifferent. At that moment, a girl quietly took out her phone to call the police. Just as she started dialing, the girl who had been keeping her head down suddenly looked up. Her eyes were completely pale. Her pupils had vanished entirely. The screaming girl suddenly lunged at the girl who had called the police. She bit down on her neck with force. A large chunk of flesh was torn off brutally. This action seemed to trigger a chain reaction. The other seemingly asleep figures in the classroom suddenly sprang up. They began attacking their classmates in a frenzy. Ah, damn it! What are you doing? Cries for help and screams echoed one after another. The classroom descended into complete chaos. Many people were bitten by zombies before they could even resist. A zombie lunged at you with its claws extended. You reacted quickly, grabbed a pen and hurled it at the zombie. The pen hit the zombie's left eye with perfect accuracy. It pierced straight through the brain. The zombie dropped to the ground immediately. Killing regular zombies grants 1 experience point. Experience points can be used to upgrade systems and abilities. The moment the zombie falls lifeless, a system notification echoes in your mind. Your eyes light up with excitement. You immediately throw another pen at a nearby zombie. The sound of impact rings out once again. After confirming that killing zombies gives experience points, you glance at these creatures, and your gaze suddenly burns with determination. Whoosh whoosh, pans and keys in your hand transform into deadly weapons. They pierce through the zombie's eyes with perfect accuracy. When you run out of personal items to use, you quickly grab the stationery from the desk and continue throwing. In no time, the last zombie in the classroom is pierced by a metal ruler. It collapses to the ground with a crash. The 2 of you have been bitten. After finishing off the zombies, your sharp gaze locked onto the 2 girls in the corner. One had an injured arm, the other had a bleeding hand. There was nothing else. Please, I beg you to let me go. I swear I won't mutate. I promise. The 2 girls knelt on the ground in fear, begging for mercy. Tears streamed down their faces like rain. Without a moment's hesitation, you grabbed the iron ruler and threw it out. The steel ruler hit its target with precision, but the system showed no response at all. You frowned slightly. Could it be that it doesn't give experience unless it's fully mutated? Just then, another girl suddenly started convulsing all over. Her eyes rolled back. She madly lunged at her classmate next to her. In the blink of an eye, a pen controlled by the magnetic field. In an instant his head was pierced through. Killing a regular zombie adds 1 experience point. You suddenly understood. It seems you must fully mutate to gain experience. You didn't forget that the goal of this trip was to find Li Ruyue. Under the terrified gazes of everyone, you started frantically gathering iron items. Pens, iron rulers, keys, coins. Anything that could be useful was collected. You headed straight to the classroom next door. pushing open the slightly ajar door. The heavy scent of blood hits you immediately. The sight before you makes you frown. The classroom is awash with blood. A dozen zombies are gathered together feasting heartily. Severed limbs are scattered across the ground. The scene resembles a slaughterhouse. Suddenly the sound of the door creaking draws their attention. They abandon their meal and snarl as they rush toward you. Without hesitation they lunge forward in a frenzy. You keep a straight face. You kick over the desk to use it as a shield. At the same time you fling several pens, accurately piercing through the zombies in the front row. Taking advantage of this brief moment, you quickly scan the classroom, looking for usable items. The iron pointer on the podium and the scattered coins, the metal curtain hooks by the window, are all excellent weapons. The ability to manipulate magnetic fields, causing these metallic objects to float up one after another. With a soft shout from you, a storm of metal swept across. The sound of piercing flesh echoed repeatedly. Sharp weapons tore into flesh continuously. Zombies fell like wheat being harvested. Killing a regular zombie grants 1 experience point. Killing a regular zombie grants 1 experience point. The system notifications sounded one after another. A faint smile appeared on the corner of his lips. In the blink of an eye there were no more zombies standing in the classroom. In the corner 2 boys were whispering to each other. Zhang Chang, do you think we should follow that guy? I think sticking with him is our only chance to survive. Are you out of your mind? Li Hu lowered his voice, but he couldn't hide the fear in his tone. That guy kills people as easily as chopping vegetables. Someone like him could take us out on a whim if he gets upset. I stood at the top of the staircase. You wiped the sweat off your forehead. Fighting continuously left you feeling lightheaded. It was as if your brain had been filled with lead. This must be what they call mental exhaustion. You leaned against the wall with one hand, muttering to yourself. Under normal circumstances, when a psychic ability user overexerts themselves, they lose the ability to fight. But you are an exception, because you have a second unique skill. Even without using your special abilities, just relying on sheer physical strength you can dominate the battlefield. Access the system panel. 112 experience points. When you saw the experience points, you were slightly surprised. Upgrading any skill requires 100 points. As for upgrading the system, 10,000, 100,000, a million, 10 million. 10,000 experience points are just the equivalent of killing 10,000 zombies. Compared to the benefits of leveling up, this small price is hardly worth mentioning. More talents to unlock. Chao Wei means having the ability to replicate more superpowers, but right now the experience is only enough to upgrade one skill. Upgrade the magnetic field. Balance between 2 talents. You made your decision without any hesitation. As soon as the words were spoken, a wave of warmth instantly spread throughout the entire body. The once clouded mind immediately became clear. Thoughts were sharper than ever before. The magnetic lines of force in the world became visible at this moment. Energy doubled after the upgrade. However, the experience required for the next upgrade increased significantly. At this moment you felt, not only was your mental strength fully restored, but also your control over the magnetic field was back in your grasp. After reaching level 2, controlling metal has become much easier and smoother. Aside from basic manipulation, you can now start to alter the shape of metal to some extent, with just a slight thought in your mind. The iron ruler in hand begins to warp under the influence of the magnetic field. It starts twisting and bending, as if an invisible hand is kneading it. With the continuous output of magnetic energy, the iron ruler gradually takes shape. Originally a long strip shape, it transformed into a sharp handle-less throwing knife. Feels much more comfortable to use than a pen. You weighed the throwing knife in your hand, and nodded with satisfaction. Then, you modified the remaining metal rulers into the same design, completely replaced the pens and keys, keeping only a few coins as backups, equipped yourself with the handmade throwing knives. You head straight up to the second floor. The upgraded abilities allow you to control 4 or 5 flying knives at the same time. In extreme conditions you can even handle 7 or 8. Going beyond this number will cause a significant increase in mental strain. Accuracy and speed would also drop substantially. At this moment, several flying knives are weaving through the lion pack under your control, like the embroidery needles of death, accurately piercing through one target after another, taking down zombies with a single lethal strike, immediately shifting focus to the next target. Each stab sends a spray of filthy blood into the air, but from 5 meters away none of that filth can reach you. These impurities never get close enough to touch you. Killing an ordinary zombie gains you 1 experience point. Eliminating a regular zombie adds 1 experience point to your total. System notifications kept coming one after another. The upgraded skills combined with the specially crafted throwing knives doubled the efficiency of the slaughter. Wherever you passed by, zombies fell like fields of wheat being harvested, while you were wreaking havoc. Not far away, a few figures were huddled in a cluttered storage area. Fear spread through the confined space. What on earth is going on? I want to go home. Keep quiet. Do you want to attract the zombies? The girl's sobbing was abruptly cut off by someone roughly. A familiar figure stood out noticeably. It was your roommate Zhao Wenyu. At the moment he was in terrible condition. Cold sweat soaked through his clothes. His body trembled uncontrollably. His pale face revealed the immense pain he was enduring. Fortunately, the storage room was dimly lit. The windows were also securely sealed. No one noticed anything unusual about him. He couldn't make a sound. Absolutely not a single noise. Zhao Wenyu clenched his teeth tightly. His nails dug deeply into the palms of his hands. If he got caught, he was as good as dead. Even though he didn't fully understand what was happening to his body, he was aware of one thing: if he got exposed, these people wouldn't show any mercy. In order to stay alive, he forced himself to endure the excruciating pain, even biting his gums until they bled without making a single sound. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. A sudden scream broke out. Zhao Wenyu was stunned. He turned his head and saw the guy sitting next to him looking equally pale. His whole body was convulsing. The difference was, the other person couldn't hold it in. They blurted out a cry of disbelief. "There are 2 infected individuals here. Hurry up and take care of them. We can't let them attract the zombies. What are you standing there for?" The survivors immediately went into an uproar. Hearing those words, Zhao Wenyu felt a wave of darkness before her eyes. She glared fiercely at the boy. Her eyes were filled with venomous hatred. Forcing out through gritted teeth, "You called them a troublemaker." Before the words were fully spoken, a baseball bat had already smashed down hard on his head. Inside the Buddhist studies building, you flicked the blood off the throwing knife and continued to move forward. Now the 3rd and 2nd floors have been cleared. Only the 1st floor remains intact. What's shocking is, not a single living soul was found on those 2 floors. Current experience points are at 238. Although there's no sign of humanity, the number of zombies on the 2nd floor far exceeds that on the 3rd floor. Once everything was cleared, your experience points instantly surpassed the 200 mark. Without hesitation, you opened the system interface. You chose to level up. The 2nd ability was upgraded. An intense and scorching energy surged through your entire body. Every muscle was filled with explosive power. When you clench your fist, you feel an unparalleled desire to fight, as if you could smash the ground with a single punch. But you quickly suppress that urge. Unless it's absolutely necessary, you won't easily reveal your close combat strength. You pull up the attribute panel. Your upgraded strength has reached 7 times that of an average person. In terms of raw power alone, you have already stepped into the realm of extraordinary individuals, comparable to futuristic genetically enhanced soldiers. Unfortunately, this upgrade didn't improve physical abilities. The next phase requires 1,000 experience points. You let out a soft sigh. It's impossible to gather enough in such a short time. You glanced at your watch. After estimating the time, you realized you had to leave immediately. This was the only chance to acquire Li Ruoyue's abilities. In your memory, after the apocalypse, Li Ruoyue will be gone for quite some time. Thinking about this, you no longer linger in battle. Clearing the obstacles, you dashed straight out of the scholarly building, to reach Pedestrian Street as quickly as possible. After leaving the scholarly building, you headed straight for the staff parking lot. The distance from H-City University of Technology to East Street is a full 20 kilometers. It's impossible to get anywhere without a vehicle. Scanning the area, a completely black Mercedes G63 caught your eye in the corner. Caught your attention. It was the 6x6 version with 6 wheels and 6-wheel drive. Looks like a toy belonging to some rich kid. Standing next to the massive vehicle, you ignored the intricate locking mechanism of the car, raised your hand to release magnetic energy. The lock opened instantly in response. With a crisp clicking sound, the heavy door popped open on its own. As you familiarized yourself with the vehicle's controls, 3 figures are moving closer in this direction. The one leading them is the person whose ability you had copied before. At this moment his condition is clearly different. It seems that his superpower has fully awakened. He is holding a blood-stained metal baseball bat in his hand. The bat is already deformed. It's obvious that it has gone through an intense fight. I have a villa in the suburbs. It's a very safe place. Let's take my car and leave later. Have you heard of the Mercedes G-Wagon? The one speaking was the sharply dressed young man next to him. There was a tone of superiority in his voice. Zhang Shanglong, stop calling me Yi. Yin Xiaoyi frowned and scolded him. He deeply regretted saving these two people now. Calling it a rescue. It was more like being pestered endlessly by them, out of old classmates' camaraderie. He wasn't heartless enough to abandon them. I helped you all escape. I've already done more than enough. Can we go our separate ways from here? The outside is crawling with zombies right now. Where can a girl like you go? Why not come with us? Zhang Shanglong persisted in trying to persuade them. Amid the deafening roar of the engine, a black Mercedes-Benz G-Class sped out of the parking lot. Zhang Shanglong erupted in a fit of rage. That's my car. Monkey, stop that car quickly. He shouted at the burly guy next to him, while he himself charged forward recklessly, hoping to block it with his own body. Just as you were about to speed away, a skinny guy like a monkey suddenly jumped in front of the car to stop it. Are you freaking deaf? You raised an eyebrow coldly. Instead of slowing down, he slammed on the gas pedal. The Mercedes-Benz G-Class jolted slightly. It felt like running over a small rock. Witnessing this scene, Zhang Shanglong's legs turned to jelly. The G-Class, which had been driving straight, suddenly swerved, heading directly toward him. No, don't come any closer. Zhang Shanglong scrambled and stumbled to dodge, in a complete mess. At that moment he was so terrified that he completely lost his mind. He frantically dashed toward the distant Pride of Lions. You bring the car to a stop. Through the car window you notice a change in Yin Xiaoyi's aura. Her abilities have already awakened. Name Yin Xiaoyi, gender female, ability super strength level E. It's you. Yin Xiaoyi looks up in shock. Her eyes were filled with vigilance. Why did you hit him? You did not provide an explanation, he said with a firm tone. As soon as Yin Xiaoyi got in the car, she was about to question him. She suddenly noticed that the lion Pride was being drawn by the noise. In a critical moment, he gritted his teeth and opened the car door. He took the passenger seat. As he stepped on the gas pedal, the chainsaw roared as it sped out of the parking lot. The roar of the G63 drew zombies along the way, but any creature daring to come within 20 meters would be instantly taken down by the glowing light. The glowing light instantly targets the head of any creature that dares to approach. Inside the car you control the steering wheel with just one hand. Throwing knives clear the way ahead. The car isn't moving very fast. The road is littered with burning wrecked cars. With your current abilities you still can't easily remove these obstacles. Thick smoke fills the air, making it even harder to clear the path. Yin Xiaoyi, sitting in the passenger seat, appears stiff and tense. The man before her seems unfathomable and impossible to read. His entire presence radiated an overwhelming sense of oppression. What shocked him even more was your extraordinary ability. He witnessed it with his own eyes. Several throwing knives flew out of your pocket on their own, drawing a deadly arc in front of the car, effortlessly taking out the zombies with precision. This completely shattered everything he thought he knew. Even though he had awakened his own supernatural power, the increase in his strength was still within a comprehensible range. But your ability to manipulate objects from a distance, it feels like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. After driving out of the congested city area, it didn't take long to leave it far behind. Once confirming safety had been lost, you rolled down the car window. The hovering dagger immediately changed direction and returned. Yin Xiaoyi's eyes widened in surprise. You can control metal just like in the movies. A classic character flashed through his mind. You are Magneto. Sure, do as you please. Magnetic field abilities are already a known method. There's no need to keep it a secret. Wait, are we heading toward East Street? Do you know the area well? You noticed the unusual tone in his voice. Not bad, I used to work there before. Yin Xiaoyi answered straightforwardly. When you worked on East Street, did you ever come across Li Ruyu? You casually asked. Yin Xiaoyi was stunned for a moment. It's already the end of the world, and you're still thinking about Li Ruyu? In Yin Xiaoyi's eyes, your kind of persistence could be called a model of true devotion. I did see her a few times. Her uncle runs a clothing store on East Street. She goes there often. You secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Bringing her along turned out to be a smart decision. It saved the trouble of searching aimlessly on East Street. At the same time, on the second floor of an old shop on the west side of East Street, 3 men were beating up a chubby middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was rolling on the ground in pain, making faint sounds. In the room there was also a 10-year-old girl, and a middle-aged woman dressed in luxurious clothes. The young girl was crying in fear. The woman frantically covered her mouth. "Don't hurt her. I'll do whatever you want." The woman dropped to her knees and pleaded. "Oh, anything at all." The tattooed man sneered wickedly, eyeing the well-maintained wealthy lady. "Ah, Tian, can't you see I'm in the middle of something important?" The bald man shouted loudly, stopping the tattooed man. "Got it." The tattooed man stepped aside, licking his lips. His eyes were fixed on the woman the entire time. He lifted Yang Zuwen's chin with the barrel of his gun. "I'll ask one last time. Where's the thing I want? Don't shoot, I really brought him here." Yang Zuwen's voice trembled as he spoke. His forehead pressed against the cold barrel of the gun. "Where is he?" The man squinted slightly. The scar twisted along with the facial muscles. His stubborn temper. "I had no choice but to lock it in the warehouse." Yang Zuwen glanced at the other person's expression. Had long since cast family ties far away. Brother Long signaled to his men. "You two stay with Shaoli. Follow me downstairs. The warehouse is just downstairs." Yang Zuwen bent down to push the door open. The entrance to the shop has long been sealed shut. Several bodies are lying on the ground. Among them is the husband of the woman from upstairs. "I heard your niece is still a virgin," Brother Long suddenly asked. His tone was suggestive. "Isn't that right? If he hadn't been obedient, I wouldn't have been able to get him to act." Yang Zuwen raised his eyebrows and made exaggerated expressions. The implication was crystal clear. "Ha ha ha!" Long laughed out loud. His eyes glimmered with even more desire. The tattooed man upstairs was just about to harm the woman. His accomplice suddenly whispered under his breath. A car came by and the zombies weren't hit to death. As they got closer to the vehicle, they inexplicably collapsed. "What the heck, that car is heading straight for us," the two of them frantically shouted. "Hurry and let Long know. This is the place where you're staring at the shop ahead. Sweat trickles down your forehead. It's this shop. I met her here before. Li Ru Yue." Yin Shui firmly points at the shop door that's shut tight. "The door is locked from the inside. There must be someone in there." You run your hand over the rolling shutter door as you speak. Suddenly your expression turns icy. Looking up toward the second floor, two thugs with cigarettes in their mouths were peeking through the gap in the curtains. They were caught. "Quick, call the boss." Under magnetic control, the rolling shutter door automatically rose. The moment you both stepped into the shop, the rolling shutter door came crashing down again. It locked firmly once more. "Guard the door and don't let anyone in. Run after anyone." You dropped that sentence and dashed up the stairs. Yin Shui gripped the baseball bat tightly, standing watch cautiously at the entrance. Inside the second floor room, two tattooed young men were guarding the mother and daughter with knives. "Where is Li Ru Yue?" You kicked the door open and stormed in. You damn tattooed guy hadn't finished his sentence before a flying knife had already pierced through his throat. Another person was so scared they could barely hold the knife steady. "Don't kill me, he is downstairs in the warehouse." A glow flickered. He also fell into a pool of blood. The little girl was just about to scream. Her mother tightly covered her mouth. "Their leader has a gun." The woman trembled as she warned him. "There is a survivor camp in the southwest direction. There aren't many zombies outside. You should find a car and head over there." After giving a brief explanation, you turned around and headed downstairs. As you left, you casually waved your hand. Two machetes flew through the air and landed in your palm. Once downstairs, you walked toward the back of the shop. Just as you rounded the corner of the hallway, the sound of a heated argument reached your ears. "Yang Zuwen, are you messing with me? Who exactly locked who inside?" Accompanied by the loud banging of a door being hit. "Calm down, Brother Long." Yang Zuwen's sister leaned close to the warehouse door. Her voice suddenly softened like the moonlight. "Ah, listen to your uncle. Open the door." "Get lost, I don't have an uncle like you." From inside came Li Ruyue's hoarse cries. "Stop wasting time and open the door now." Yang Zuwen's expression suddenly changed. He pushed hard against the motionless door. "That stubborn girl dragon. Block the door with the shelves." He turned around with a flattering smile. "Why not just break it open?" Dragon burst into laughter at those words. "Ha ha ha, smart move. I really like people with a temper." He gestured to his men. Ordered Shaoli, "Break into the warehouse for me." When Li Ruyue heard the sound of the door being slammed, the light in his eyes completely faded away. He sat motionless in the corner like a soulless shell, sobbing quietly while huddled in the corner. The violent impact caused the entire doorframe to shake. The shelves near the bottom of the door groaned under the pressure. Scattered objects clattered to the ground in a chaotic mess. A blinding beam of light pierced through the crack in the door, making Li Ruyue sink even deeper into despair. That beam of light felt like a sword of judgment. It signaled that she was about to fall into an even deeper darkness. Just at this critical moment, a stranger's questioning suddenly echoed from outside the door. Who are you banging on the door? Xiaoli stopped what he was doing and looked toward the end of the hallway in shock. He had no idea when a young man with a stern expression had appeared there. Where did he come from? Was it Tian or Xiaohu who brought you in? Dragon narrowed his eyes. The pistol was already in his hand. You waved the machete in your hand. You were referring to their former master. Dragon's face suddenly changed. He instantly realized what was happening. He swiftly raised his pistol, looking for trouble, but strangely enough, no matter how many times he pulled the trigger, the pistol was as useless as a piece of scrap metal. Damn it, the safety was clearly on. Brother Long frantically checked the handgun. Cold sweat formed on his forehead. Little Li, chop him for me. He immediately gave the order. An even more horrifying scene unfolded. The machete in Little Li's hand suddenly slipped and flew out. It traced a deadly arc through the air, precisely severing his carotid artery. Tomato juice sprayed across the walls like a fountain. Long was so terrified that his face turned as pale as ash. What kind of monster are you? He stepped back in fear. Suddenly he dropped to his knees begging for mercy. Big brother, please spare my life. I'll do anything, even be your dog from now on. But what he got in return was a blade straight through his heart. Long's obese body collapsed heavily to the ground. He lay there motionless as if completely paralyzed. Yang Zuwen was already paralyzed with fear, sitting on the ground. The crotch was completely soaked. A sharp stench of urine hung in the air. You frowned in disgust. This kind of scum, not even worth wasting another word on. A glint of cold light flashed. The throwing knife pierced right through Yang Zuwen's forehead with precision. After dealing with the last worthless scum, you stood in front of the warehouse door. The energy within your body surged. A loud boom was suddenly heard. The shelves by the bottom door were violently flung away by an invisible force. In the dimly lit corner of the warehouse, Li Ruoyue curled up into a ball. Her nails dug deeply into her arm. Her vacant eyes looked as lifeless as a broken ragdoll. She lifted her head in a daze. Against the backlight, she saw a tall and upright figure standing at the doorway. Come on, it's safe now. The sound was like a ray of sunlight. It pierced through the heavy gloom in his heart. Chu Tian, do you still remember me? He remembered it vividly. That was a brief encounter during a volunteer activity 6 months ago. He never expected that in this apocalypse, this person he had only met once would come to save him. His long-suppressed emotions suddenly broke free. Li Ruoyue suddenly threw herself into your arms. She cried her heart out. Thank you, truly thank you. At the very moment of contact, a system notification echoed in your mind. Detected a replicable superpower. Lightning control. About to awaken. You decisively chose to decline. The pain of failing to awaken a superpower the first 2 times is still fresh in your memory. This time you decided to wait until the superpower fully awakened before acting. Have you cried enough? You calmly pushed him away and said it's time to leave. There wasn't a hint of pity in your voice. The first rule of survival in the apocalypse: those who let their emotions take over are the ones who die the fastest. Li Ru, you responded in a daze. Her swollen red eyes were filled with tears, but she obediently kept her mouth shut. Like a frightened rabbit, she silently followed behind you. At this moment his mind was completely blank. The only thought in mind was to stick closely to this lifesaver, like a drowning person clinging to driftwood refusing to let go. Standing by the doorway, Yin Xiaoyi noticed the two of you walking out. His eyes lit up. Wow, you two paired up so quickly. What met his words was your icy stare and Li Ruoyue's confused expression. You didn't bother to explain. And with a wave of your hand the rolling door buzzed as it lifted. The Mercedes G-Class parked outside had been transformed into a black and red police car, with most of its body stained dark red by zombie tomato juice. The thick stench of blood filled the air. The streets were littered with corpses. It looked like a scene straight out of hell. Li Ruoyue's face turned pale, but she forced herself to cover her mouth. Holding back the urge to retch, she pushed through and managed to force a smile. It's nothing. That look of forced bravery resembles a kitten scared of being abandoned. You subtly raise an eyebrow. This is so different from the person in your previous life, the thunder goddess who once ruled the battlefield. It's like they're two completely different people. You obviously understand. This is a dependency caused by post-traumatic stress. But thinking back to your past life, the once revered Li Ruoyue, admired by countless elites, is now completely obedient to him, and he can't help but feel a hint of smug satisfaction. Time on the car ticks by second by second. Li Ruoyue's body temperature rises instead of dropping. Curled up in the back seat like a steamed shrimp, Yin Xiaoyi, anxious, keeps rubbing his hands nervously. Why is it taking so long? Back then I only felt pain for a few minutes. The longer the awakening process lasts, the stronger the talent, you calmly explained. Soon you arrived at the gas station. Several crashed cars were still smoking. Wandering zombies upon hearing the engine sound immediately lunged wildly. You saw the moss-covered throwing knife trace a silver streak in the air. The zombies dropped to the ground all at once. Boom! Suddenly, a deafening explosion echoed from the distance. The shockwave shattered all the glass at the gas station. Even the bulletproof car windows shattered into a spiderweb pattern. What exactly happened? Yin Xiaoyi tightly shielded Li Ruyue. The oppressive atmosphere in the air made her hair stand on end. Only you remained calm and composed. A sharp glint flashed in your eyes. The rift in time and space has opened. This explosion that swept across the globe signifies monsters 100 times scarier than zombies are about to descend. You have to leave right now. You push the door open and leap out. Behind you comes Yin Xiaoyi's tearful plea. Before her words of caution could finish, your figure had already disappeared into the downpour of shattered glass. You swiftly retrieved a fuel card from the zombie gas station attendant. The click of the fuel nozzle being inserted into the gas tank was especially crisp in the deathly silent gas station. Taking advantage of the brief moment while refueling, you slipped into the convenience store. The shelves were tilted and unsteady. Crushed chip bags were scattered across the floor. It was clear that someone had hurriedly raided the place, but quite a few canned goods and bottles of water were left behind. You lightly flicked your fingers. The metal cans seemed to be drawn to the cart as if by a magnet. They flew right into the shopping cart. As you pushed the fully loaded cart back to your car, the fuel gauge stopped just in time. The supplies were securely placed into the spacious trunk. You just pulled the car door shut. A piercing shriek tore through the sky like a razor-sharp blade. Yin Xiao pointed at the sky, panic written all over his face. What on earth are those creepy things? Several humanoid creatures were circling above the city. Their skeletal faces paired with razor-sharp claws made them look terrifying. Their wings, thin as cicadas' wings, shimmered with a bloody hue under the setting sun. You didn't even bother to look up. The monsters always target the living in high-rise buildings. In the distance, the sound of shattering glass echoed continuously. The monsters crashed through one window after another, dragging the survivors hiding inside the house out. Amid the horrifying screams, people were tossed into the air like ragdolls, eventually turning into crimson blossoms blooming on the ground. Yin Xiaoyi covered her mouth tightly, watching helplessly as a woman in pajamas, had her shoulder pierced by sharp claws, struggled for a moment from 30 stories high, then plummeted like a kite with a broken string. Don't be fooled by how hard you step on the gas pedal. The tires of the G-Wagon leave streaks of smoke on the ground. These beasts have 10 times the strength of humans. Once they lock onto you, it's over. In the rearview mirror, the last glimmer of daylight is swallowed by a massive shadow that blocks out the sky. A piercing scream breaks through the air. Even from several miles away you can hear it loud and clear. Silver Xiao gazes at the falling figures in the distance, lips trembling. Compared to these monsters, zombies seem like gentle little lambs, suddenly jerking the steering wheel. In the rearview mirror, 2 black dots are closing in at an alarming speed. Hold on tight before you even finish speaking. The engine of the G-Wagon roared furiously, but those 2 shadows are still growing rapidly. It's the winged demons, they've locked onto us. Yin Xiaoyi tightened his grip on the baseball bat. The veins on his hand bulged. A cold smirk appeared at the corner of your mouth. You wanted to play a hunting game? Then let's see who the prey really is. The car gradually slowed down. Your gaze was as sharp as a blade. Your movements were as smooth as the moonlight. Before the words even faded, 2 winged demons had already swooped down. The sharp screech of wings tore through the air. A flash of silver light appeared sharp enough to make one's teeth ache. Throwing knives guided by the magnetic field struck with pinpoint precision. However, the momentum of the demon's dive was too overwhelming. The first demon's chest burst open with a spray of blood, yet its speed showed no sign of slowing down. Tomato-red blood splattered like ink across the face of the second demon, only fueling its ferocity even more. A deafening crash echoed through the air. The demon's sharp claws cut through as effortlessly as a hot knife through butter, piercing through the underside of the car. A sharp gleam flashes in your eyes. The dagger you threw earlier suddenly changes direction. It pierces through the demon's body from behind once more. The elder demon lets out a painful screech. With a powerful yank of his palm, the entire car roof is torn off like a piece of paper. You shout angrily. The machete from the passenger seat suddenly flies out. It cuts through the air in a deadly arc, precisely slashing into the edge of the eye socket. at the cartilage connecting to the bird. That part leads directly to the brain. As the system notification echoed in your mind, the second demon had already dived down. Just as you were getting ready to face the battle, Ian Shelby from the back row suddenly sprang up, gripping the blade tightly with both hands and swinging it upward. Amid the sharp teeth-clenching sound of tearing, the demon's body was unexpectedly sliced in half. The foul-smelling black tomato juice poured down like a torrential rain. Ian Shelby suddenly touched his cheek as if he had been shocked. When he noticed it was covered in the black tomato juice from the strange creature, his pupils contracted sharply. What was even more terrifying, it seemed like his mouth was still open. This realization made Ian Shelby feel like he had fallen into an ice cellar. Tears streamed down uncontrollably. He clutched Chu Tian's sleeve, crying and shouting to end his life. "I would rather die. Don't turn into that kind of monster either." In the trembling voice was the ultimate fear of the grotesque appearance after mutation. You gripped the steering wheel with focus, but the corners of your mouth slightly lifted uncontrollably. The girl was crying with snot and tears all over her face, looking just like she was acting in a tragic farewell drama. The biggest difference between a ferocious beast and a zombie. You suddenly spoke. There was a noticeable hint of amusement in your voice. "The first one can be grilled." Tears hung on Ian Shelby's face. Zhu was stunned as you continued to explain. "Don't worry, even if you make soup with those wings, at most it will just upset your stomach." Ian Shelby was completely dumbfounded. She even forgot to wipe the tears hanging on her eyelashes. You took the chance to point at the broken leaves swaying on the car roof. "They say grilling it gives a texture like crispy cartilage." This sentence seemed to trigger some kind of switch. He suddenly realized how exaggerated his earlier performance had been. "So I won't mutate." After receiving a positive response, Ian Shelby's face instantly turned as red as a cooked shrimp. The car finally drove out of the downtown area. 20 minutes later, you arrived at Ijian Garden Villa District. Ian Shelby widened her eyes, staring at the luxurious villa. This house must be worth 10 or 20 million. Even if it's worth $1 billion now, it doesn't matter anymore. The harsh reality of the apocalypse has turned all wealth into worthless paper. Suddenly you looked at Li Ruyue with intense focus. At this moment it's clear she has successfully awakened. Namely Ruyue Gender Female Ability Lightning Control LV. Staring at the attribute panel that appeared before you, a flash of uncontrollable excitement crossed your eyes. For this very moment, you really put in a lot of effort and thought. Now, finally able to claim this long-desired lightning power, added it to his collection. Li Ruoyue, who had been staring at Chu Tian so intently that he felt completely uncomfortable, couldn't hold back anymore and softly called out. Her voice carried a clear sense of nervousness. His cheeks burned with heat. He stood frozen in place, utterly at a loss. This feeling of being stared at so directly made him feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. Hey, give me your hand." Snapping back to your senses, you directly give the command. Your tone leaves no room for refusal. "But there's still an electric current running through me." Though filled with confusion, Li Ruyue obediently extends her trembling hand. Without hesitation you grab it firmly, at the same time silently reciting copy in your mind. Copy successful. Ability acquired. Lightning Control LV1. As the system notification rang out, a surge of powerful energy instantly flowed into your body. Your muscles trembled slightly all over. Every cell in your body seemed to be cheering with excitement. A fleeting spark of electricity flashed across your eyes, and then vanished without a trace. With your immense mental strength, you effortlessly controlled this newly acquired power, without showing any signs of losing control like Li Ruyue did. "Chu Tian, did I shock you again?" Noticing you holding your hand in silence, Li Ruyue asked nervously. He anxiously watched your expression, afraid of causing trouble again. But what puzzled him even more, was that just a moment ago, he seemed to feel a strange kind of connection, as if an electric current formed a circuit between the two of you. That fascinating sensation faded away in an instant, but it left a deep question lingering in his heart. "It's fine, go ahead and help Ying Xiaoyi clean the villa first." Noticing Li Ruoyue's confusion, you subtly changed the subject. "I'll take a look around nearby, to make sure everything is safe." You casually made up an excuse. "Then be careful." Although she was full of doubts, Li Ruoyue still followed your suggestion, followed the instructions and entered the villa, assisted in confirming. After Li Ruoyue walked away, you moved to another floor of the neighborhood, arrived inside a different villa. After ensuring it was safe, you leaned against the wall, A faint smile appeared on the corner of your lips. The system pulled up the attribute panel with the name Chu Tian. System level 1 with strength of 72. Agility 10, Constitution 20 plus 5, Energy 43 plus 10. Talent Magnetic Field Manipulation level 2. Range level 2. Lightning Control level 2. Slot usage 3 of 5. Experience 422 as expected. Copying your awakened ability saves the awakening process. You nod in satisfaction. Just in time to use the accumulated experience to upgrade the lightning skill. You excitedly give the command. System upgrade Lightning Control. 100 experience points consumed. Lightning Control upgraded to LV2. A more powerful energy surged like a tide. Lightning flickered in your eyes. Violent currents danced in your palm. With a casual wave of your hand, a streak of lightning hissed and shot forward. Boom! The wall was blasted open with a large hole. The charred edges still crackled with tiny sparks. The air was filled with a lingering scent. The sharp smell of burning filled the air. The lightning ability upgrade surprisingly enhanced physical fitness. You chuckled softly and ran your hand over your well-defined abs. It seems like the system is quite considerate. It knows that strengthening the body is necessary to withstand even greater power. However, to reach the next level, you still need to gather 1,000 experience points. You are very clear about your plans, and chose Yijiang Garden as the location. The main appeal of this place is that it's far from the dangerous areas of the city center, while still offering plenty of zombies and killers to gain experience from. In this harsh post-apocalyptic world, simply avoiding danger will only lead to a slow death. The only way to survive is to keep getting stronger. When we got back to the villa, Yin Xiui had already cleaned out all the zombies, and even wiped away the bloodstains with Li Ruyue. She was walking around spraying air freshener, while Li Ruyue, busy preparing dinner in the kitchen with enthusiasm. You start to carefully inspect the 3-story villa. Actually, there are 2 more floors underground. Every kind of facility is fully equipped. A gym, wine cellar, and private theater. It even has an underground garage with direct access to the outside. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, you gaze at the slowly setting sun. You can't help but think, if it were the old me, I might not even have been able to find a proper shelter. You understand all too well the harsh realities of the apocalypse. For ordinary people, getting a spot in a shelter is nearly impossible. Trying to survive alone is practically a death sentence. During dinner, you were surprised to find out that you actually ate 4 times the amount of food as a normal person. You're not sure if it's a trait of being awakened, or if Li Ruoyue's cooking is just that amazing. Ruoyue, you'll take the night watch tonight. You said this while wiping your mouth. Mission will be completed without fail. Li Ruoyue's eyes lit up. Her fists clenched instinctively. A trace of electric light flickered at her fingertips. What he feared most was being seen as useless. This task gave him a sense of reassurance. There's no need to be overly nervous. This place is temporarily safe. After saying that, he turned and went upstairs. He arrived at the 3rd-floor terrace. You didn't immediately rest. The night breeze brushes against your face, carrying a slight chill, and a faint hint of a metallic scent, making your nerves tense up unconsciously. This time it should work. Your mom tosses the coins from her hand, and they slowly hover above your palm. Blue arcs of electricity dance at your fingertips. Maybe it's time to try that legendary move. You focus all your energy, using magnetic fields to create an invisible conductor on both sides of the coin. The moment the current forms a closed loop between the rails, it zips. The coin vanishes into the night like a bullet fired from a gun. It worked, and you froze for a second. Then you quickly pulled out another coin. This time you caught the whole process clearly. A powerful magnetic field propels. The coin shoots along the rails with tremendous force. The speed is nearly 3 times the speed of sound. What a pity. Ordinary metals can't withstand such high-speed friction. It disintegrated into ashes after flying less than 100 meters. It seems that special alloys are still necessary. You furrow your brows in deep thought. At this moment, a life-and-death chase is unfolding on a highway several kilometers away. An armored transport vehicle and an old pickup truck are desperately fleeing, chased by a swarm of ferocious zombies. The darkness of night makes these creatures even more aggressive and swift. Damn it, are these beasts out of their minds? The blonde-haired young man in the escort vehicle kept his eyes on the rearview mirror. He cursed loudly. Boss, they are chasing us relentlessly. The burly man in the passenger seat looked like a moving fortress. His muscles were bulging all over his body. His voice was deep like thunder. He focused on driving. We're almost at the destination. The navigation is showing it. Their target was none other than Yijiang Garden. The pickup truck following closely behind ran into an obstacle. Suddenly it came to a halt with a sharp brake. A horde of zombies instantly swarmed over, completely surrounding the pickup truck. At the same time, the demons circled above, Its unique piercing screeches echoed in the sky. Early the next morning, you awoke abruptly from your sleep. After making sure the area is safe, you decide that your top priority today is to modify the vehicle. Gather supplies as quickly as possible. Was there anything unusual last night? You ask while chewing on a piece of bread. Li Ru, you hesitated for a moment. It seemed like I heard the sound of a car crash in the middle of the night. You furrow your brows, put down the food, and head outdoors quickly. Just as you step outside, you spot something unusual. The area around the villa is completely surrounded by a dense horde of zombies. It's clear that these are not the original residents of the neighborhood. You quickly sense that something is off. The clothing on these zombies looks more like that of drifters from outside the city, and their sheer number is unusually high. You head quickly to the entrance of the neighborhood. The scene before you makes your heart skip a beat. The swarm of zombies looms like a dark cloud pressing down. It was clearly lured by someone. A horde of zombies, violently tearing apart a battered pickup truck. The vehicle's body is covered with horrifying bloodstains and claw marks. 2 crimson tire tracks stretched across the ground, leading straight into the depths of the neighborhood. It seems like someone deliberately led it here. Your gaze suddenly turned icy cold, then a slight smirk appeared. Perfect chance to test out a new move on you. A dazzling blue arc of electricity dances in the palm of your hand. With a faint crackle in the air, the lightning strikes the zombie's head with precision. The powerful current instantly chars the brain to ash. Killing a regular zombie adds 1 experience point. The system notification chimes repeatedly. The air is filled with the sharp stench of burnt flesh. A flicker of excitement flashes in your eyes. Suddenly you ramp up the power output of the current. Thick bolts of lightning dance wildly like silver snakes. In an instant, all the zombies within a 5-meter radius were completely wiped out. The scene was absolutely horrifying. You let out a hearty laugh, feeling exhilarated. Under the control of the magnetic field, the throwing knives turned into deadly streaks of silver. They precisely took the lives of the remaining zombies. After clearing out the horde of corpses, you followed the trail of blood to the villa in the southeastern corner. A deformed armored truck was parked there. The stench was overwhelming. A cold glint suddenly flashed in your eyes. You are quite bold. You unleash your magnetic perception, your eyebrows slightly raised. 4 living people. One of them is an awakened one. The atmosphere inside the villa was oppressively heavy. Brother Yellowhair can barely hold on. The subordinate's voice trembled. The burly man known as Tiger Brother slowly stood up. Everyone present instinctively stepped back half a step. At this moment, the left side of Wang, whose body has turned into a lizard-like form. His left side now resembles the appearance of a lizard. The ends of the scaly arms are tipped with sharp claws. A dangerous gleam flickers through the bushes. In the corner, the broken-armed blonde was barely holding on, her breath faint and weak. "Help me," but Wang Hu did not respond, merely taking in the strong scent of blood, a strange longing flickering in their eyes. The dying blonde-haired man stared wide-eyed. Brother Tiger stood right in front of him. He felt an unprecedented sense of strangeness and fear. The blonde-haired man was horrified to discover Tiger Brother's gaze fixed on him, as if he were eyeing a delicious meal. Could he actually want to eat me? Before the words even finished, sharp claws had already pierced through his chest, shattering his heart to pieces. Wang Hu casually withdrew his blood-soaked claws, taking advantage of the moment when no one was on guard. He quickly stuffed a piece of heart meat into his mouth. A twisted sense of satisfaction appeared on his face. At that moment, one of his subordinates walked over and happened to block the view. He didn't notice what the man was chewing on. "Boss, who should we still send out the notification as planned? Or maybe we should consider joining another shelter?" one of the subordinates nervously suggested. Wang Hu originally intended to establish his own shelter, to rule like a local king, but last night he lost more than a dozen of his men. Now it's just the 3 of them left. Proceed according to the plan. Wang Hu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said coldly, "But there are only 3 of us." One of his men tried to argue, but was interrupted by a sudden voice at the door. "Because the 2 of you aren't even enough to fill the gaps in his teeth." You stood leaning on the doorframe, mockingly glancing at the 3 people inside. "Whoa, who are you?" The 2 subordinates were scared out of their wits. They were just about to reach for their weapons, only to realize that their guns floated into the air and loaded themselves. The dark barrels of the guns were aimed straight at them. It was like seeing a ghost as the 2 froze on the spot. They stared at Wang Hu in terror. Wang Hu appeared calm on the surface, but inside his mind was in complete turmoil. He had always believed that he was the only one with special abilities. Name Wang Hu. Ability: Irreversible Lizard Beast Transformation. You glanced over the information panel, shaking your head in disappointment. You thought it might be someone powerful. Turns out it's just a low-level beast transformation. How dare you look down on me? Wang Hu roared in fury. He lunged at you with incredible speed. Just as his claws were about to reach you, it was as if an invisible force suddenly stopped him. The entire body was thrown backward. Remember to remove the metal accessories next time. You mentioned this enhances the magnetic field. The metal buckle on Wang Hu's waist snapped off with a crack. It hit his jaw with great force, intent on tearing it apart. Your repeated humiliation pushed Wang Hu into a complete beast transformation. Scales quickly spread across his entire body. His spine began to protrude. The outline of a tail fully formed as he turned into a beast. It seems like you don't even have the worth of being a laborer anymore. Your gaze turns cold. Two floating pistols fire simultaneously. Bullets spark, blood sprays on the scales, but they fail to stop the monster. Wang Hu roars and lunges forward again, yet freezes abruptly a meter away from you. Blinding electric light instantly fills the entire room. Fierce currents of electricity rampage through Wang Hu's body. The flesh beneath the scales begins to char. He trembled in agony, but couldn't even let out a scream. Has the beast transformation dulled his sense of pain? You frowned slightly, and increased the electric current output. Smoke began to rise from Wang Hu's body, and he finally collapsed like a charred stump, reverting back to his human form. Beast form eliminated. Gained 50 experience points. Obtaining beast gene fragments allows for research. At this moment, after reverting to human form, Wang Hu's massive body was convulsing violently. Thick electrical currents coiled around him like chains. The air was filled with the pungent smell of burnt flesh. You kept the electric current flowing with one hand, while the other hand was continuously drawing electricity from a wall socket. Electricity was being extracted steadily. All the appliances in the villa sparked one after another. Eventually, even the transformer burned out, cutting off the power supply. It actually works. A spark of excitement flashes in your eyes. The power to control lightning goes far beyond just discharging electricity. As long as there's enough energy, even heavenly thunder can be harnessed. Ding! Defeated Awakener LV1. Experience points increased by 200. The sudden system notification leaves you stunned. Defeating Awakeners can also increase experience points. He murmurs in disbelief. You need to understand that ordinary humans don't provide any experience points at all. Even infected individuals need to fully mutate before they can yield even a small amount of experience. 200 experience points. That's roughly equivalent to the gain from 4 aberrations. You can't help but wonder, could it be that awakened beings are essentially mutants too? You turn your head to look at the two who had already gone ashore. Do you want to stay alive? You ask casually. The two nodded so quickly it was like their heads were on a swivel, terrified that even a second of hesitation would lead them to share Wang Hu's fate. After confirming that they knew how to drive, you made the most out of the situation, assigning them to clean up the area in front of the neighborhood entrance. It wasn't until noon that a truck loaded with zombies finally completed the cleanup. Under your intimidating presence, the two slinked away, driving the truck in a panic, speeding down the deserted streets. At this moment, a few fingers from the corpses in the truck bed were twitching slightly. Several fingers among the bodies were faintly trembling. A strange black liquid was seeping out from the pile of corpses. This thick black substance squirmed as if it were alive. It slowly climbed upward along the bodies, returning to the villa residence. You are guiding Li Ruoyua on how to use a magnetic field to generate electricity. The palm of your hand suspends a circular ring formed by magnetic energy. As the circular magnetic field spins rapidly, a crackling electric current appeared out of nowhere. Oh my gosh, it's actually possible. Li Ruyu's eyes lit up with excitement. Does that mean I can also create a magnetic field? You responded with a silent smile. This derived energy is far harder to control than the original ability. It's like how an ordinary person can start a fire but struggles to control the flames. Even if Li Ruyu learns how to generate magnetism from electricity, she still wouldn't reach your level of control. However, this is a derivative of that ability. In battles, unexpected tactics often lead to victory. I'm absolutely exhausted. Yin Xiaoi came rushing over in a flurry. She plopped down next to you and began complaining. Do you know how many trips I made to move all the supplies? Over 40 trips in total. Yin Xiaoi complained pitifully. She grabbed a bottle of water and took big gulps. They made me move all the supplies for the entire neighborhood by myself. You laughed and pointed to the Ford Raptor in the distance. If they really treated you as someone with a hard life, they would have already made you lift that truck. Yin Xiaoyi looked in the direction pointed, and instantly froze like a statue. That gigantic pickup truck weighing 26 tons. With your encouragement, he hesitantly grabbed the chassis, and with a loud shout, the truck's body actually lifted on one side. How is this even possible? Yin Xiaoyi was so startled that she almost let go. You glanced at the system panel displaying his strength stats. A knowing smile appeared on your face. Naming Xiaoyi gender female talent great strength LV2. She had leveled up to high-intensity transport work. This upgrade brought a significant improvement to Yin Xiaoyi's abilities. Inside the fitness villa under the night sky, two girls were busy counting supplies. These bottles of red wine are enough to open a bar. But as for food, there isn't much. Yin Xiaoyi frowned while holding the list. It can last for at most 3 days. Meanwhile, in the underground garage, you were fully focused on modifying the vehicle. The sparks from the welding torch illuminated your concentrated profile. The once imposing off-road vehicle underwent a complete transformation. Its body was covered in heavy bulletproof steel plates. The windows were reinforced with tightly welded protective mesh. A sharp clearing tool was added to the front of the vehicle. After the modifications, the weight of the G-Class vehicle soared to 4 tons, the ultimate apocalypse vehicle. A small town 10 kilometers away, a truck loaded with corpses, had overturned on the roadside at a bizarre angle. The bodies in the truck bed were all mutilated, and scattered around were messy bloody handprints. Inside a nearby residential house, a man covered in blood was curled up under the bed, terrified and trembling, muttering about monsters, saying they were all monsters. Suddenly, 6 arms of different sizes reached out at the doorway all at once. In the man's widened pupils, reflected the horrifying figure pieced together from countless human body parts, a terrifying silhouette made up of severed human limbs. The next day you set off in your modified apocalypse vehicle, skillfully maneuvering out of the neighborhood, and headed toward the supermarket to gather supplies. The vehicle navigated through the desolate streets of the apocalyptic world. You control the flying knives, precisely taking down the zombies along the roadside. Each flash of silver light cuts through the air. The system notification pops up. Experience points increased by 1. Experience points increased by 1. When the number reached 917, a satisfied smile appeared on your lips. At this pace, you'll definitely break through the 1,000-point milestone by the end of the day. As the supermarket gets closer and closer, your expression gradually turns serious. The number of mutated zombies outside the windshield has noticeably increased. The swarm of flying demons in the sky looks like a moving dark cloud. The spread of ferocious beasts is happening much faster than expected. You mutter to yourself. A flash of silver light streaks by. In the distance, the top hat raider collapses to the ground instantly. Experience points 1002. Suddenly you slam on the brakes. The two girls haven't even had time to react. You gently closed your eyes. A faint blue energy ripple appeared around you. At this moment your magnetic field control leveled up to LV3. In your vision, the entire world turned into a three-dimensional web woven by countless magnetic field lines. You raised your hand slightly. Over a dozen abandoned cars by the roadside suddenly began to tremble all at once. The metal parts resonated with a low humming sound. You press down on the accelerator once more. Excitement sparkles in your eyes. The upgraded capabilities fill you with confidence. Even the metal billboard on the distant supermarket roof trembles faintly within your scope of perception. The battle vehicle roars as it charges toward the supermarket. The front clearing blade of the vehicle roughly sweeps aside the zombie remains blocking the road. You grip the steering wheel with one hand, while lightly waving the other hand. The metal rolling shutter of the supermarket in the distance seemed to be pulled apart by an invisible hand, twisting into a dark gaping entrance. Li Ruyue suddenly gripped the seat tightly. He could clearly sense the energy waves radiating from you. The oppressive feeling made it hard for him to breathe, like the low pressure before a storm hits. Just a minor breakthrough, you said casually, while simultaneously controlling the flying knife to pierce through a zombie 100 meters away with precision. The system notification sounds kept coming one after another. The experience points were increasing rapidly. Suddenly your pupils narrowed in an instant. A blood-red figure made you grip the steering wheel tightly. It was the ghoul that had tormented you so much in your previous life. You let out a cold laugh and prepared for battle. With a smirk you sneered quietly. Over 20 throwing knives began to tremble and hover simultaneously. They started spinning around you. Magnetic field control. After reaching LV3, the number of knives you can control and their range have significantly improved. Both have undergone a substantial transformation. Your attack range has now extended beyond 100 meters. Killing regular zombies adds 1 experience point. Eliminating a level 1 mutated zombie grants 5 experience points per kill. The system notification sounds keep coming one after another. The experience bar that was nearly empty before is now filling up at an astonishing speed. You suddenly notice something while driving. A strange creature is wandering near the entrance of the supermarket. Its size is similar to that of an average hunting dog, but this creature's body is completely bare. Its blood-red skin looks as if it has been stripped off. Just looking at it sends chills down your spine. An old acquaintance. You fix your gaze on that red figure. Your eyes gradually grow cold. For ordinary people seeing such a creature, you were already scared out of your mind. But instead of being afraid, a surge of anger rose within you. In your past life you suffered a lot at the hands of this beast. This time it's your turn to make it suffer. A cruel smile curved at the corner of your lips, but you didn't act recklessly. Years of experience have taught you, scavenger dogs always move in packs. They never show up alone. As expected when you glance around, in the broken windows nearby and the dark corners, a flash of red figures occasionally appears. Clearly these beasts had already set up an ambush. Unlike those mindless zombies, carrion hounds are not just intelligent, they are even craftier than most humans. This is also why they are harder to deal with than zombies. Even after noticing the danger, you still maintain absolute composure. You know it very well. As long as you stay in the car, these beasts won't easily launch an attack. As the vehicle gets closer to the supermarket, the red figures in the surrounding buildings are moving more and more frequently. Those pale eyes glint like ghostly flames in the shadows, locking onto this moving armored vehicle. Chu Tian doesn't seem to be in good shape. Li Ruiyue, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke up. Her sharp gaze was fixed straight ahead. The dog standing guard at the supermarket entrance seemed to be deliberately luring us over. You glanced at him with a hint of surprise, silently praising her as the future thunder goddess she was destined to be. This level of perceptiveness is truly extraordinary. She could even think along the same lines as you did. Don't worry, you said in a low voice. In a while you and Yin Xiaoyi will get out of the car together. Stand back to back. Make sure not to scatter. Just as the words were spoken, you slammed on the brakes suddenly. Amid the piercing sound of screeching brakes, the vehicle came to a steady stop about 50 meters away from the supermarket entrance. It stopped firmly in place. The scavenger dog at the supermarket entrance only now acted like it just noticed you, slowly straightened its body, growling low while bearing a mouthful of sharp fangs, lowering its body and assuming an attack stance. Step out of the car with caution, on high alert waiting for your command. Takes the lead by pushing the car door open and jumping out. Li Ruiyue and Yin Xiaoyi followed closely behind. They stood back to back as per your instructions, scanning their surroundings carefully with vigilance. Just as the three of them found their footing, a deafening roar suddenly erupted from the building on the left. Just as you were about to turn your head, a dark figure suddenly lunged from the right like lightning. Humph, the same old trick. You smirked coldly, not even bothering to turn your head. Dozens of throwing knives shot out in response, like arrows released from a bow heading straight for the dark figure. The corpse-eating hound moved with astonishing speed, facing the incoming knives. It managed to shrink by whipping its tail while moving at high speed, forcefully changing its trajectory to evade the attack. But in the very next moment, the throwing knife traced a sharp arc through the air. It plunged deeply from behind. With a slick sound, the blade pierced through the red skin. Under your control, the knife sliced horizontally, tearing it open completely. With a ripping sound, blood and organs splattered everywhere. Though the corpse-eating hound is known for its bronze head and iron tail, its soft belly remains its fatal weakness. Defeating the Class D beast, the corpse-eating dog earned 100 experience points. Barely catching their breath, from the surrounding shadows, more than 10 corpse-eating dogs appeared at the same time. Growling as they charged forward, they surged toward the three from all directions like a tidal wave. Chu Tian stayed cautious. Yin Xiao let out a shout as he rushed toward one of the attacking beasts. Bang! The baseball bat in his hand smashed heavily onto the head of the stone lion dog. The ferocious beast was sent flying several meters, yet its head remained completely intact. The baseball bat in his hand had been modified by you. Its core was replaced with high-strength steel from car pillars. Both its weight and hardness were on a whole new level. Silver Xiaoyi shook his numb wrist. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Is this beast's head made of iron?" Before the words left his mouth, another gullhound lunged at Silver Xiaoyi like lightning. Watch out! Li Ruiyue's fingertips erupted with flashes of lightning, accurately struck the ferocious beast. However, the electric flash only made the corpse hound shake its head slightly. In the blink of an eye, it bared its fangs and lunged forward again, aimed at the waist, gave a deep-toned reminder. at the same time controlled over 20 flying knives to weave through the battlefield. As silver glimmers flashed, the flying knives always managed to find an opening, launched a side attack, accurately pierced the soft belly of the corpse hound, executing a crazy angle kill on a ground-level fierce beast. Lion pack experience increased by 100. Defeating a D-level scavenger dog grants 100 experience. The surviving scavenger dogs quickly learned their lesson. They crouched low to the ground. The pace of their attack suddenly sped up. 3 or 4 of them lunged at once from different directions. They left no room for you to catch a breath. A cunning scavenger dog sneaked around to your back, its fangs aimed straight for the back of your neck. Chu Tian moved cautiously. Li Ruyu and Yin Xiaoyi both cried out in shock. The former unleashed a powerful lightning attack in your direction. The latter unexpectedly hurled her weapon straight at you. You almost laughed out of frustration. Are you here to fight or just to cause trouble? Before the lightning and the baseball bat could reach you, a flash of silver pierced through the ambusher's abdomen, tearing their internal organs into shreds. Your eyes scanned the abandoned vehicles along the street. The corners of your mouth curve upward slightly. It seems like every magnetic manipulator can't escape the fate of being part of a demolition team. Amid the roaring sound of twisting metal, the entire car is lifted into the air by you and slammed into the beast horde like swatting a fly. You suddenly unleash all the energy of your magnetic field. A piercing sound of metal tearing apart erupts abruptly. 2 abandoned cars are torn into pieces under your control, turning into dozens of thick metal rods. Each one weighs several hundred pounds. You lift your hand lightly. These menacing metal rods twist in the air like living creatures, resembling massive steel serpents, roaring as they strike at the corpse-eating hounds. Defeating a D-level beast corpse-eating hound grants 100 experience points. Defeating a D-level beast corpse-eating hound grants 100 experience points. Defeating a D-level beast corpse-eating hound grants 100 experience points. The system notifications keep ringing. The last 2 remaining corpse-eating hounds finally broke down. With their tails tucked they turned and fled, trying to escape now. A cold glint flashed in your eyes. 2 metal rods sparked mid-air. In an instant they transformed into 2 icy sharp javelins. The sound of them slicing through the air suddenly erupted. The 2 javelins shot toward the fleeing beasts like bolts of lightning. One of them tried to dodge, but forgot that these deadly weapons could bend and track their target. Rustling sounds echoed. The spear pierced the beast's body from the side, pinning them to the ground like skewered kebabs. The spearhead even sank more than 3 inches into the concrete road. Yin Xiaoyi and Li Ruyu simultaneously gasped in shock, staring at the culprit impaled like candied hawthorn. The 2 women exchanged glances and saw fear in each other's eyes. There might still be some stragglers in the supermarket. Remember to stay alert. You glanced at the 2 girls as you spoke, signaled them to head to the supermarket to gather supplies. Li Ruyu nodded calmly in understanding. Yin Xiaoyi was even more eager to take action. You stayed in place, brought up the attribute panel. The experience bar clearly showed the current experience at 902. In just a few minutes of fighting, the experience points had almost reached the 1,000-point milestone. This was way too unbelievable. Silently strengthened the resolve. Previously clearing out all the zombies in the neighborhood, barely managed to gather 1,000 experience points, but now taking down a few fierce beasts is almost enough to meet the goal. A level 1 demon grants 50 points, a D-class ghoul hound adds 100 points, so wouldn't higher level beasts give even more? Thinking about this, an idea suddenly struck you. It seems that the 10,000 experience points needed to level up might not be as impossible to reach as you thought. After all, we're only dealing with the lowest level monsters at the moment. No idea how much experience these creatures might give. While calculating the possibilities, a sudden scream from Yin Xiaoyi came from the supermarket. Could it be a ferocious beast? Or maybe a mutated zombie? Your heart skips a beat. With their current abilities, ordinary zombies wouldn't pose any real threat. You dash into the supermarket in an instant. Yin Xiaoyi and Li Ruyu were pushing a shopping cart. In front of them stood 2 middle-aged men armed with guns. Put the stuff down. How dare you touch my supplies? You must be tired of living. The sudden appearance of a living person left the 2 girls feeling a bit stunned. Even though they had gained special abilities, when faced with the dark barrel of a gun, they still instinctively felt a sense of fear. How did the items in the supermarket suddenly become yours? Do you really think you can finish all these supplies? Yin Xiaoyi gathered her courage to question them. Li Ruoyue appeared timid as she lowered her head, but the hand hidden behind her back was sparking with dangerous electricity. Wow, this little girl is quite bold. Only then did the man holding the gun notice. Standing before him were 2 stunningly beautiful women, even more gorgeous than the stars on TV. If you want the supplies, it's not impossible. The man licked his lips with a disgusting grin. As long as you behave and follow the rules. What are you even talking about? In Xiaoyi suddenly lashed out. A solid baseball bat sliced through the air with a sharp whooshing sound. It came crashing down on Li Ruoyue's palm. Sparks of lightning burst forth. Amid screams of agony, the man convulsed violently as electricity surged through his body. Then in an instant the big guy's head burst open like a smashed watermelon. Blood and brain matter splattered everywhere. One of the other men was so terrified he looked like his soul had left his body. He froze for a few seconds before snapping back to reality. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, the gun in his hand eerily floated into the air. The dark barrel slowly turned to aim at himself. Do you want to end up like your friend? You walked over slowly. Your tone was so calm it was unnerving. The man immediately shook his head wildly like a rattledrum. No, please spare me, spare me. The man dropped to his knees, waving his hands around frantically. If only you had been this sensible earlier. I asked and you replied that the supermarket belongs to you, meaning you've been hiding here all along. You are genuinely confused. The carrion hound has an exceptionally sharp sense of smell. How could these two be completely unharmed? It has been since the day before yesterday. We haven't stepped outside since then. The man answered nervously. Those red-haired creatures outside will eat you if you go out, but they never come inside. When the corpse-eating hounds were mentioned, the man's eyes were filled with fear. There are others here with us. You quickly caught the key detail. After receiving a confirmation, you said coldly. The guide stopped in front of a tightly shut door. Eerie laughter came from inside the room. Haha, I can't take it anymore. Your turn now, haha. I can't hold on anymore either. Haha, nope, I can't. Haha, you can't touch that spot. Haha, your expression just got so weird. It's only the third day of the disaster, and you guys are already going this wild. Even though I knew people would lose their humanity, this speed is just way too fast. Li Ruiyue and Yin Xiaoyi behind him were already blushing bright red. It's not what you're thinking, the man was just about to explain. Caught sight of the floating handgun and froze in fear again. He knocked on the door gently. Ha, just wait a moment. Is that Xiao Wang? Ha, the laughter inside the room continued, but someone still answered the door. It's me, the man said just as he finished speaking. The door slowly swung open. Unexpectedly, inside a dozen people were neatly dressed. In the corner a man was laughing uncontrollably. He was tossing a jelly-like object about the size of a basketball to someone else. Ha, your turn. It tickles, ha. The person who caught it immediately burst into laughter as well. Your gaze locked onto the jelly-like object. It was a translucent orange, a colorful gel-like creature. It looks just like a slime straight out of a video game. Its body is round and chubby. It has no limbs, only a pair of big round eyes. It's using 2 tentacles to tickle a person. Its body can reshape itself freely when the person being tickled reaches their limit. This little creature lets out a cheerful giggle. You search your memory for a moment. Finally confirmed his identity as the Itchy Monster. A bottom-tier existence among the monsters. One of the rare few. It might even be the only neutral monster that won't actively attack humans. No wonder the ghoulish hound would rather wait at the door than come inside. You suddenly realized, finally understanding, why the ghoulish hound avoids attacking despite knowing someone is there. They must have caught the scent of a monster. Zombies don't have the concept of fear, but beasts do. Even the simplest tickling stick is enough to intimidate a flesh-eating dog. What's more important is, it's extremely rare. In the future, countless people will be willing to trade large amounts of supplies for a single tickling stick, yet it will still be in short supply. Wrap it in a piece of clothing and take it away. As soon as the words were spoken, the survivors inside the room erupted in chaos. Who are you? What do you want? Everyone stood up, their eyes filled with anger. Faced with their questioning, you acted as if you didn't hear them. You simply gave Yin Xiaoyi a meaningful look. He understood and picked up a staff uniform, heading toward the Itchy Monster. This is basically daylight robbery. A group of young men instantly flew into a rage. They acted as if they were about to grab their weapons. In the very next moment, all the metal objects in the room suddenly floated into the air. Knives, steel pipes, guns and keys. Even the metal accessories on their bodies were pulled into the air. One move and you're dead. Your voice was eerily calm. Before the words were even finished, all the suspended metal objects turned their sharp edges, aiming directly at the crowd. Everyone froze in place instantly. Those impulsive young people were now facing sharp steel needles pointed straight at their eyes, so terrified they held their breath. This thing in your hands will only bring about deadly trouble, you said calmly. Your words were no exaggeration. though the itchy monster has a gentle and harmless nature. Its essence as a creature of magic remains unchanged. If ordinary people are exposed to it for too long, they will eventually pay the price with their lives. While you were intimidating the crowd, In Xiaoyi had already tiptoed closer to the itchy monster lying on the ground. She carefully wrapped it up with some clothing, and gently picked it up in her arms. He. The little one in my arms let out a joyful laugh. It seemed like they really enjoyed being held. You all can take him away. The monsters outside have broken in. What should we do? A young woman in her early 20s stepped out from the crowd. What was surprising was, the entire room full of strong men fell silent. He was the only one bold enough to voice his doubts. The monsters outside have already been cleared out. You glanced at him with a hint of admiration, added that if it were me, I would drive away from here immediately. As time goes by, more ferocious monsters will spread out from the city. By then even having the itchy monster won't help. Let's go. You couldn't be bothered to pay attention to their reactions. Noticed that In Xiaoyi had already secured the oxygen tank. You turned around and headed out. As you left, the floating metal objects began to fall one after another. The woman who had asked the question saw this. She quietly stood up and went after it. Between the supermarket shelves, you instructed to prioritize grabbing high-calorie foods. Both canned goods and chocolate are necessary. Everyone should try to bring as much as possible. In Xiaoyi was pushing a cart. She was loading entire boxes of bottled water onto it. Li Ruyue was at the other end, busy gathering all kinds of high-calorie foods. They are all very clever, heading straight to the warehouse to move entire boxes of supplies. You on the other hand are sweeping premium cigarettes into the shopping cart. This type of luxury item will become increasingly rare in the future. You walk along while observing everything, continuously tossing useful household items into the shopping cart. Even though there are already some household supplies in the villa, it's naturally better to find brand new ones if you can, right when you are focused on grabbing goods. A courageous woman finally caught up, panting heavily. Hello, Chen Meiyue was running completely out of breath, could hardly speak clearly. He quickly thought of the most appropriate words to say. Don't stammer. You interrupted him impatiently. Trying to follow me. Chen Meiyue was visibly stunned. He immediately started nodding vigorously. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. He was just about to explain, but you raised your hand to stop him again. Sure, but what value can you bring? Your question was blunt and sharp. Chen Meiyue took a deep breath and spoke with a serious tone. My name is Chen Meiyue. I'm a Michelin 2-star chef. That response left you momentarily speechless. You were expecting to hear something like a doctor, or maybe an engineer with some practical skills. At the very least someone who could fix a car, but instead it turned out to be a chef. After a brief pause, you finally gave in. Do you know how to drive a truck? Chen Meiyue looked a bit confused about the truck. Hesitating, she said, I have a C1 driver's license. It should work. After moving the stuff later you can just drive yourself and follow along. You decisively gave the instructions. Having one more person who can drive means being able to carry more supplies in one car. In Xiaoyi and Li Ruyue are both students. They never had the chance to learn how to drive. Understanding this, Chen Meiyue was overjoyed. She nodded repeatedly in agreement. It didn't take long. Lin Xiaoyi and Li Ruyue finished transporting the supplies. The trunk of the doomsday vehicle was packed to the brim. The remaining supplies were loaded into Chen Meiyue's truck. At this moment both vehicles seemed particularly useful. Right before departure, you sternly reminded them to learn how to drive as soon as they got back. But there's no driving school now. In Xiaoyi asked you with an innocent expression. You couldn't help but roll your eyes. It's the apocalypse after all. Do you really want to start from scratch with traffic light rules in the first module? Learn the traffic regulations. Just find an empty space and practice driving a few laps and you'll get the hang of it. After saying that, he flicked In Xiaoyi's forehead. Ouch! In Xiaoyi winced and shrank his neck in pain, slipped quietly into the car. The convoy finally began its journey. The doomsday vehicle took the lead. Chen Meiyue's vehicle, the truck, followed closely behind. Before getting in the car, you gave a cold warning, saying if you fall behind halfway, don't expect me to wait for you or come to your rescue. This remark immediately put Chen Meiyue on edge. She kept her eyes glued to the car in front the entire time, terrified she might lose sight of it.